So welcome to a card time that's going to be for you and yourself. And we're going to work with pressures. So we're going to start by just scanning the body and sensing the space between the mat and your body all along, starting with the heels, the calves, the thighs, the space between the knees and the floor, the buttocks, the small of your back, the space between that and the floor, the ribs on the right and then the left. How much of the ribs are off the floor, how much of them on the floor. The shoulder blades, the difference between the right and the left. The shoulders themselves. The distance of the ears to the shoulders or the shoulders to the ears. And the placement of the head on the floor. And go back to the heels and see if there is one heel that has a little bit more pressure than the other heel. How is the picture in your mind's eye of the right heel versus the left heel? Is there tension in the way that you are holding the heel on the right versus on the left? Is the placement of the heel on the floor different? Is it in the center of the heel or more towards the outside of the heel? And if it is on the outside, how far to the side of your leg is it? Is one heel further from your buttocks than the other heel? If you had to measure, is one leg feels like it's longer than the other one? And go ahead and press the right heel into the ground, like you're trying to make an indent in the mat, and let go. And then try to make an indent on the left heel, under the left heel, and let go. Legs are straight, if you can. So we're pressing with the right heel, and we're pressing with the left heel. And when you press the heel down, can you feel your buttocks engaging? Is one side engages more clearly than the other? Can you feel the muscle? How many of them? Watch the shape. And let the heels go. And if you can stay with your legs a little bit longer when they are lengthened, go ahead, and if you absolutely must, then bend them. But we're going to start pressing now the shoulder, the right shoulder, the scapula down, and let go, and the left one, and let go. And we're moving between pressing the right side, the scapula into the mat, making a small indent into the mat, and let go, and the left. And once you figure out which one presses more, which one presses less, start noticing if other areas of your body is engaging when you are pushing or pressing the scapula down. And let that go. And press the right heel and the right shoulder blade down. And let go. And press the left heel and the left shoulder blade. And let go. So we're repeating last week, but in a hurried way, without the full exploration. So the right heel and the right shoulder, and the left heel and the left shoulder. How is it transmitting through the body, those two ends? Are your ribs pressing down? Is your lower back doing anything? Are your abdominals doing anything? And let it go. And go back to scanning and see how it feels laying on the ground. And press the right heel and the left shoulder blade. So you're creating a diagonal line from right to left. And let it go completely. And then the left heel and the right shoulder blade. So you have the other diagonal. Notice how much muscle, how many muscle and how much of them do you recruit, and see if it's necessary, and try to adjust. You're pressing the heel and the shoulder, and then the other heel and another shoulder. And see if you can move from one to the other in a comfortable way. It's like you're making a stamp. You know, it's not a real push, like you're trying to break something. You're just stamping. And start to get into a rhythm of walking. And see if your toes are responding, if your foot is responding. When you're doing the opposite. And let it all go. If you need to bend your knees, go ahead and bend your knees. You can bring your knees together and the feet a little bit further, like a triangle, and just rest. And now with your feet, go ahead and bend your knees, all of us, and have the feet hip width apart and the knees hip width apart. And press the right foot from heel to toe and let go. So the foot is pressing from heel to toe and let go. You don't have to lift the toes, but You're rolling from heel towards toes. And notice what happens to your pelvis. And see if you can feel that rolling of the pelvis from bottom to top as you are rolling the weight from the heel to the toes. Use as little pressure flexion on the toes, but see if you can roll the weight from heel to toes. The heel stays on the floor. We're trying to find a relationship, a connection between the heel rolling, the weight rolling from heel to toes, to what happens in the hip area. Most of you doing a lot with the foot, like it's an exercise. Let go, let go. Let me see if I can find a different way of doing it. Go ahead and lift the toes up, so only the heel is touching the ground. Press the heel and let go. Press the heel and let go. And as you press the heel, allow the weight to go from the tailbone up towards your belly button. And let go. And press the heel and allow the weight to travel from the tailbone up towards the belly button. And if you find that, go ahead and flatten the foot now. And see if you can roll the weight from the heel towards the toes and find that rolling of the hip from tailbone up towards the belly button. It will be in a tiny little bit different space underneath your hip. Lovely. And let it go. And lift the toes of the left foot and press the heel and find the rolling of the tail to belly button. You may want to explore by moving the heel a little bit further away from your buttocks, or a little closer to your buttocks, or a little bit more to the side, or a little bit closer to the midline. And find out how does it affect the rolling of your pelvis. It's something that we, as women, many times do when we want to bring up, roll up a zipper on jeans that just came out from the washing. Because it kind of flattens everything and makes more room for that zipper to come together. And when you're familiar with that, you can drop the toes and find them rolling from heel to toes with a relaxed foot. And if it's clear in your mind's eye and in your body, then start doing it from the right foot and then the left foot. and find a rhythm going from the heel to the toes on one foot and going from the heel to the toes to the other foot. And you will notice that you're actually not going straight towards your belly button, but you're going more towards the outside of your hip. Try to find an inside rhythm, because this is what we do when we walk. So the transfer from side to side should have a rhythm that supports you. And go ahead and lengthen your legs. And notice your heels, the space underneath your knees, the way that the hip is laying. The muscles along the spine, the shoulder blades, and the placement of your head. And go ahead and bend your knees once again. And now we're going to press the center of our heels. We're going to shift the weight towards the outside of the middle of the foot without moving the knees, and then towards the center of the toes. So now we have very little weight on the heel, and the pelvis is almost off the floor. Your belly button is, the area of the belly button or the lumbar is glued to the floor. Go ahead and make a quarter of a circle from the belly button area towards the right side of your pelvis in a quarter of a circle, and come back towards the area of the belly button. And as you're drawing that quarter of a circle from the belly button towards the right side of your pelvis, notice that the weight goes from the heel to the outside of the foot and comes back. So the same quarter of a circle that happens underneath your pelvis is happening on the right side of your leg, of your foot. Do you need me to repeat? So you're shifting the weight from the middle of the heel towards the outside of the right leg as the pelvis is moving from the belly button, quarter of a circle. And again, it's without an effort. It's the awareness, it's the picturing in your mind that enables the movement and the learning on using it harmoniously and with awareness. And rest, either with the knees bent or the legs straight, whichever feels right to you. Kind of visualize that clarity, that movement of the quarter of a circle that you did on the right side. Because now we're going to bend the knees again and we're going to do it on the left side. So press the heels on both sides, shift the weight towards your belly button. And then from the belly button, quarter of a circle towards your left, going around the left hip and around the outside of the left foot. And then coming back. Close to the middle of the foot on the outside, we have a fifth metatarsal, the cuboid, where we get a lot of the weight as we pass through from heel to toes. See if you can visualize that bone as you are moving from the heel forward towards the toes in quarter of a circle. The way back is as important as the way forward, and see if you have the same quality and the same clarity on the way back. And back to the center and let it all go. Next, go ahead and bend your knees again. Press the heels down to shift the weight towards your belly button and lift the pelvis so it's hovering. Again, don't lift it as high as you can. Just hover. Your ribs are touching the ground and you are hovering. And in this place, bring your toes up and start walking towards your toes in an arch. So from the heel to the outside of the foot and in towards the middle of the toes, the second and third toe. And then lift that foot and the other one will go out to the outside of the foot and in towards the toes. And then you lift the foot and you start with the other one. So first just let's find the movement of the feet. So now it's not just a quarter of a circle, but we're getting all the way to the toes. So we're going from the heel towards the outside of the foot. When we get to towards the little toe, you are shifting back towards the middle of the foot. And you let that foot come up and you start bringing the weight down on the left outside and towards the middle. And whenever you need to rest and lower the pelvis, then you lower the pelvis and you rest. And you can just hover a millimeter off the ground. You don't have to lift your hip up much, high. But the reason I want the hip hovering is because once you find that movement on the foot, I'm going to ask you to put your fingers on your pelvis and to start moving the pelvis forward with the foot. So as the foot comes down and forward, the pelvis is doing forward motion, like a bicycle. Anytime you need to lower the pelvis and rest, go ahead and lower the pelvis and rest. So you're hovering, and as the feet are doing the movement, the pelvis is going like bicycling forward towards the toes. It's a little tricky to find, first do the feet, find that outside, the banana shape from the heel to the outside and then towards the toes. Leave that side. Leave that side. Just rest. Just hover. So you can find the connection between. Okay, go ahead and stop for a minute and I'll show you in standing. The hip is doing this as my knee is bending and I'm shifting my weight in towards the outside and towards the toes. And outside and towards the toes. And outside the foot, see I'm outside and towards my toes, and this hip is going forward. And now I'm going to go outside and towards the toes, and this hip will go forward. So I'm doing this. Okay, so take the time to first find the outside toes, and then find the pelvis that goes with it. As tiny little as you need to just find it. Not make an exercise out of it, not start riding bicycle out of it, just find that connection. The feet are moving just from heel to toes. Try to dream it. Come on, dream it. Dream it. Okay, you're very physical. But me too. It takes me forever to let go of it. Yeah, you're dancing. whatever you're doing, and instead of going side to side, which is a possibility, walk forward, try to reach. Yeah. Yeah, I can start seeing hips moving forward. Alright, go ahead and rest. And find a way to stand up slowly, 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 from roll to the side to sitting, and from sitting to standing, slowly, 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 so you don't get dizzy. And find the heel to toe, heel to toe, heel to toes, heel to toes. You can do it even without lifting the toes. Now I want you to watch around the room and see how many variations on the scene. Is anybody doing it right? And it's not bad. I mean, we all find our own way to live life, right? So the direction that I gave you was to do a bicycle on each side of a, like we're pedaling forward. Many of us are doing this. We're going side to side somehow, or we're doing eights, or one side moves and the other side doesn't move. So just take them a minute now, without judgment, just to notice what it is that you're doing. Because once you know what you're doing, then you have an entry. If you don't know, there's no awareness, then it's an automatic. So kind of either close your eyes or put your hands on your hip and see if the hamstring, if the muscles in the back of the leg and the front of the leg are actually going forward and back, or do you roll? Do the knees go straight over the middle of the foot? Or do they roll in a little bit, or out a little bit, or any variation? So just take time, kind of relax inside and be okay with what is, just so for you to know. How much the angle changes between my hip and my leg? Can I walk with my hip? Can it move? Does it move at all? Does it move one side more than the other? Does it move up and down? Forward and back? Do I use the outside of my legs more than the inside of my legs? Then try without the toes, just the pelvis. And you're allowed to bend the knees. So you're walking. So you're doing.
You shouldn't bend your knees, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, bend your knees.
Okay.
Bend your knees and roll the pelvis. Do this with your pelvis, forward and back. So you're doing this. You're working from the ribs. See if the bone of the pelvis can actually move. So your solution is to lift your heels. See if you can lift the heels down and still find the pelvis movement. We love to cheat, right? Sign of creativity. Now watch your foot going out. how does it affect the pelvis? And on and on and on. We all have our story. Okay. Let's slide the right leg forward into a step. Lift the foot a little bit. Drop it towards the outside to the quarter of a circle and bring it in towards the middle of the foot so the knee is forward. And come off the back of the leg and put the heel. Drop it towards the outside, towards the middle, and heel. Find the outside. And as you're doing it, very gingerly, notice when do you bring your pelvis over the leg. When the heel is down, do it really slowly so you can find out. You drop the weight. When does this hip come over the leg so it supports you for the other leg to be able, and the hip to come forward. Hip comes forward and step over the leg. Heel and step over and heel and step over. And if you lose balance, don't be like, oh, never mind, I'll do it again. Go back. Find where did you lose the balance? What did you do? Use it as a lesson and as an exploration place. What is different between this side that I'm losing balance to the other side that I'm not losing balance? What am I doing different? And now start slowing it down like slow motion. So when you are standing on one leg, you can slow it down, work on your balance, bring the other heel down, step over it. And how soft can your knees be? Are your feet too close to one another? Maybe you need your full hip width so you can actually stand on one leg, bring the other one over in slow motion. Do the knees need to be working at the same time from side to side? When does one knee bend and the other one straighten? Or do they both need to be bending? And try to walk normally now and see what happens. Just walk. Just walk. How do you use your foot? Can you feel the rolling from heel to the outside to the middle? Where are your eyes? Are they down on the floor? Or are you looking forward? Is your hip moving? Or is it sleeping? Is it doing any bicycling? And let's go back to the mat. And go ahead and sit down for a second. to your hips. And hips to the sides. Because we're gonna walk without walking forward. So the heels are not gonna be moving, but your hips is gonna do the movement. So we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do this. We're trying to lift one hip as the knee bends and bring it forward and down. And bend the knee, allow the hip to come a little bit off the floor and forward without the knee going in, forward and down. So this is like PT type thing, where you're trying to take any deviation that you want to do and not really allowing it, but trying to wake up the pelvis to separate in the sacroiliac joint, so you can do this, which we tried in laying down and in standing. Now we have the floor to feel when the hip is coming off the floor, when it comes forward, when it comes down, when it comes up, when it comes forward, when it comes down, when it comes up and forward and down. Only one side comes up. Only one side comes up, forward and down. So it's tiny. It's not a big movement. We're not doing, right? It's create a little space, roll the hip forward and down. Up, a little forward. Think about trying to bring a little bit more oxygen and a little bit more blood into all this lumbar area, the vertebrae in the bottom, the space between these two, the joint. Lubricate it rather than, oh, I want you to move more. There you go. And the hands are here because as you're coming up, you're actually pushing the floor, right? Can you feel how there's more weight going into the mat? Okay, let's walk backwards. Rest for a minute. Last thing. If it's too much, you can do it here as well. But if you want to sit and have the full PT session. So now we're going to move forward and up and back and down. And forward and up and back and down. So right leg goes straight, left leg goes whoop. Keep the knee up, keep the knee up. There you go. No, it's in. You're doing this. Straight up on the left. Do it the left. Bring the knee out a little bit and back. And see if you can start feeling the rotation in the lower back and the wanting to turn your head towards the direction that you're going. Kind of like swimming and looking back. See if the rotation back takes your head in the direction. So the left side doesn't want to move. Up and back. Do the left side only. Okay, all right, and go ahead and lie down. We traveled a long way today in a very short time. We started pressing same sides, opposite sides, lower body, upper body, to shifting weight on the feet, to shifting weight on the sacrum up towards your belly button, to start shifting weight around the pelvis and around the feet, to shifting weight from heel to toes, connecting it to the movement of the pelvis, to try and get the pelvis to move separately and within alignment of the legs and the knees and the feet. Then we brought it up to standing. With finding the way that the pelvis stacks over the leg as you shift weight forward. To then moving the sacroiliac joint forward and back in sitting. And now take a minute to just feel how the heels touch the ground and the calf muscles and the space behind the knees and the thighs and the hip bones and the muscles of the hip and the space between the floor and your lumbar and the way that your shoulder blades are finding the floor and your ribs and the angle of your head. And take your time to roll to a side and slowly come to a sitting. And I thank you.